students. Today I am going to continue the chapter Globalization and the Indian Economy. Now, what is globalization? Globalization means the integration of domestic economy with the rest of the world through trade, capital and technology flow. MNCs are playing very important role in the process of globalization. Now, what are the components of globalization? Free flow of goods and services among different countries. It implies that foreign companies can freely sell their goods and services in Indian market, and Indian companies can sell their goods and services in foreign countries. Free flow of capital among nation states, that is, no restrictions on foreign investment. It suggests that foreign capitalists can invest in India and Indian capitalists can invest in foreign countries. Free flow of technology, it means we can import technology from any country without any restriction. Free movement of labor among different countries of the world. We find increasing trend in the flow of goods and services, capital and technology between the countries of the world. But the movement of people is not as free as it should have been, especially developed countries are creating problems in the free movement of people. Now, the process of globalization in India has been initiated since 1980s, but it sped up with the adoption of economic reform measures in 1991 after accepting the membership of WTO. The globalization of Indian economy became quite clear. Then the flow of foreign capital and foreign technology has increased. Multiple national companies have also started coming in business of MNCs from other countries also. Now, what are the factors that have led to globalization? Now, what are the factors? That is, first, technology, advancement in technology. We are living in the age of technology when distance of time and space have shrunk and the world has become one global village. Technology evolution in transport and communication has brought about an enormous reduction in the time needed, as also the cost involved in covering geographical distances. The case of improvement in technology because of its delivery of goods across long distance has become possible much faster as lower cost. Now, containers are used for goods. These containers can easily be loaded into ships, railways and trucks. This has reduced the port handling and now speedy delivery of goods to the market has become much possible. Similarly, the cost of rail transport and air transport has cost of railway transport and air transport has also fallen. Investment in transport and technology has helped in greater and speedy movement of goods. With the growth of IT sector, call centers situated in Bangalore and Hyderabad are extensively used by the foreigners for banking service, railway inquiry, teaching, etc. All these have enabled the speedy and cheaper interaction between different countries of the world. Now, liberalization of foreign trade and foreign investment. In the early years of planning, India imposed barriers on foreign trades and foreign investment. This policy was based on the belief that such type of restrictions are necessary to protect the interest of the domestic producers. The policy of protection to domestic industries was adopted. Imposing import duties on foreign goods is called tax barrier. For example, if government of India imposes import duty on Chinese toys, then it is a tax barrier. Because of this import duty, the price of Chinese toy in Indian market would increase and hence the import of toys from China would come down. This will provide protection to the Indian toy manufacturers. Similarly, a quota can be fixed for the import of certain goods. This is called quantitative restrictions. In the early phase of its development, India protected its domestic industries from foreign competition through tax barrier, that is import duties and quantitative restrictions. Later on, liberalized trade policy was initiated since 1991. Removing barriers or restrictions from foreign trade is called liberalization of foreign trade. Under this policy, firms are allowed to take decisions freely regarding the import and export of goods. It is believed that and exports of goods should be liberalized. Policy will create free environment for trade. It will also improve efficiency and sharpen Indians' competitiveness in the world market. This policy of liberalization of foreign trade and foreign investment has also stimulated the process of globalization. That is why sometimes globalization is referred to as internationalization. Plus, liberalization. Now, WTO means World Trade Organization. What are the functions of WTO? Acting as a forum for multilateral trade negotiation, implementing the multilateral trade agreements, seeking to resolve trade disputes, cooperating with other international institutions of economic policy making. The main thrust of the WTO agreement is to promote international trade amongst the members themselves. Now, what is the impact of WTO on Indian economy? WTO has emerged as the super global agency for making rules for international trade, investment, intellectual property rights and several other economic issues. It asks the developing country to open their markets for the goods, services and capital of the other countries on the ground that it will help their development. But total openness may lead the slowing down of development and increasing poverty. The working process in the WTO is such that developing countries are not able to safeguard their interest. So, first in the agriculture sector. On the other hand, WTO is forcing developing countries like India to remove trade barriers and reduce subsidies given to the farmers. On the other hand, developed countries have retained trade barriers and subsidized. Now, intellectual property rights. Copyrights, trademarks, etc. is likely to work against India. It is feared that the price of many essential drugs may go up sharply. It will have its adverse impact on our agriculture and food security. The WTO agreement is going to adversely affect our strategy of self-reliant growth based on the technology and other resources available locally. Now, the impact of globalization on different sections of the society has not been uniform in India. The globalization has been of advantage to consumers, particularly belonging to urban rich section. For them, variety of quality goods are available in the market due to integration of market. They can now have large choice of consumer goods. This has increased their standard of living, but on the other hand, the poor consumer are unable to purchase these goods. The gap between the consumption standards of rich and poor has also widened. After globalization, MNCs has increased investment in India. They have invested their money particularly in the areas of automobiles, electronics, cell phones, soft drinks, etc. These areas also serve the rich section. The industries and companies engaged in such activities have also prospered and have created new jobs. Even the companies supplying raw material to these industries have also developed to certain extent. Big Indian industries and companies may get benefits from the process of globalization. They may increase their production method. They can collaborate with foreign companies and get some benefits. Some of the Indian companies have themselves emerged as MNCs. For example, Tata Motors, Asian Paints, etc. Globalization has especially provided advantages to the IT and IT related service companies. But as far as a small scale and cottage industry sector is concerned, it is facing severe problem. The small scale units producing toys, fans, tires, etc. are large variety of consumer articles are losing their markets to cheap imported products. Now, what is the adverse effect on unemployment? On the account of competition and new technology, output is increasing but not the employment. The globalization has affected the employment situation adversely. It has changed the working condition also. For example, the garment industry. Large garment companies of Europe and America place their order with the Indian garment manufacturers. And these foreign MNCs further sell their garments under their brand name. They try to procure these garments at the cheapest possible rates from anywhere in the world. Now, what is the need and struggle for the fair globalization? The experience of globalization indicate that it has not worked in the interest of the world's poor. It has largely favored the rich, highly educated and skilled person of the society. Therefore, it is unfair globalization. Now the question is, should we stop the process of globalization? What the fact of matter is that now globalization is a reality and it cannot be finished. Some people are of the opinion that the fault does not lie in globalization, but in the way it has been managed. There is a need for a fair globalization. Fair globalization should benefit all countries and should raise the welfare of all people throughout the world. It implies that it should reduce poverty and inequality. What should be done to move towards more fair and good globalization? The government can play an important role in achieving this goal. The government should see the labor laws and properly implemented and workers' rights should be protected. It should also protect the interest of farmers and small producers.